Hey everybody, Daryl Davey here with Oak and Hollow Games down in the Game Workshop, and I am starting to work on our next batch of Skirmish. We kind of gone back and forth on how we wanted to allocate our time and our money, and while we were working on both the Christopher Mim project and the Plunder project, we figured that it would probably be a good time to get another batch of Skirmish out. For those of you who are feeling a little bit deja vu, I did just say this and do this. My internet went kind of wonky, so I had to restart. But I figured while I'm going through some of the startup stuff here, I might as well chat with y'all about that. So I had done a quick run of Skirmish figures just to get the printer back up and going. We're waiting on a new printer. There's a bigger one coming. Phil has purchased that for the company, and it's in the mail. He did say that some of them have been coming in damaged, but it's like triple the size of the build plate. I'd have to double check. So I've been kind of pushing this off because I'm like, man, if I can print like 3 things at one time, I might as well wait. But at the same time, especially on a weekend, I got, time, I might as well be getting some sets out. So I'm doing that in my first set. This was happening with the other one too. Had some problems with a couple of the figures. So I'm going to print one more set and see if it's repeating again. It could be the light. It could be it needs new filament on the bottom. The resin had been sitting for a while. I'd clean things out and put it back in. So there's a lot of things that can affect that process. So I'm not hopping on to the 3D redoing all those anyways, because I know in not too short of time I'm going to have to be doing that regardless. But when the print fails, it takes a little bit. So I'll walk you through that while I do it. First, what did survive, I keep anyways, and then I have sets. So each of the 10 fighters, so I can just grab them when I'm doing it, because maybe one's failed here and hasn't failed the other time, and I can make sets out of these. And then B, I can tell which ones are printing really well, and which ones seem to be more problematic, where they're not printing out every time, like the clerics or the necromancers. Oh, both of the religious ones. Anyways, so I can see maybe where I need to troubleshoot on some of those 3D files. Again, I'm going to wait on that. I'm hoping it was just, it's been a little while since I ran the machines. It's a bit of a fluke on that end, but it does happen. I mean, I'd say it's about an 80% success rate on when you're doing multiple batches where, you'll get fine, and then something weird will set it off, maybe a temperature fluctuation, or it just didn't grab as well the one time. For anybody doing this at home, please wear proper PPE and all of that business. Don't follow my example right now. But I have already, scanned the bottom. So if I didn't know this function existed when I got it for quite some time, but in a resin printer like this one, if one of the prints fails, there is a button that you can press where instead of just trying to scrape the one piece off, it casts the entire screen up, because it's light that comes out from underneath that shines up and cures the resin layer by layer. So it does for however long you want, cast of light through, and what it leaves you with is a really fine rectangle on this one of resin that's one big sheet. And what that does is it allows you, instead of trying to pick here's where the problem is, it's probably hard to see on the camera and it's too gooey, I don't want to move it, but instead of having to just chip at that piece, which could wreck the filament, and that's how I used to do it, not the filament, the bottom here, you can instead just pick a corner of that and it peels off. And it's much easier to get any crud that's stuck on the bottom by doing it that way. So I'm going to do that right now, and you can kind of hear the noise of it unsticking, and then it just comes up in a sheet just like that. You can see that darker spot is where there's the print failure, so it stopped the light from coming through and printing another layer, so it's just a flat blob at this point. I used to just have to pick that off until I realized that there's a super handy-dandy button that I can just press. That would have saved me a couple of screens and a lot of time and money. But, you know, after anything, I want to make sure these are warmed up and ready to go again. And these will just be printing in the background. I don't have a set hard deadline, but I am down. I think there's only one copy left at maybe two, at Gameplay Stay right now, and I might have one here. Yeah, I think I got one left here. So I want to start hitting more conventions and doing more public things again. So I want to make sure that we have games to sell for that. We're taking a little bit of a break on doing Oaken Hollow game or All Hallows Eve prints for various reasons, but it is the most time-consuming and money sink that we have, and sales have been going okay, but we've had over 200 sold on that, so we're just going to take a break on that, get Skirmish up to around those numbers as we are working on our other projects, and yeah, that's kind of the game plan going forward here. Once I have that, I just pour my resin back in. Make sure to wash my hands nice and good after this as well, and set her back down on the plate, and that should be good to go. And this print takes about 3 hours, 3.5 hours for these trick-or-treaters, the Skirmish Fighter figures. So, you know, it's a slow system, but it's nice when I'm not under a deadline where I can just kind of print them in the background. And that way, if there are any problems that arise, I'm not as pressed for it. Those all set. They're off to print. Got this all cleaned out. These guys were from my first print, so the ones that survived, which were 9 out of the 10, are ready to go. And I'm going to add these for about 2 minutes. This thing has been awesome. Elegoo washer and light combo. It saves me a lot of time. I was using a bigger pickle jar before. I use this for little things. I made a small model. I'll go grab that actually. We're doing a new Star Realms game, or Starfinder game, with my buddies. We just finished one campaign. We hopped another one. So I had just recently printed and painted. This light's not the best for it, but Carhoon, this big bear for that. So printed that off. So instead of getting this whole thing back up and running for that, I instead just used my little pickle bucket for that, because it works nice for small little projects, or if there's something in there, it's messy or whatnot, I can just use the pickle bucket instead. So I'm going to keep that filled just in case there's little prints in the meantime. But with that, we are hopefully getting back on our way to our next runs of Skirmish. I am hoping to make a post here later today, probably tomorrow, asking about any little updates people might want on Skirmish in our next run. That's another nice thing about doing small runs like we do, so that way if there are any weird things